Architects, pull up your Eames chair, put on those black spectacles, and pour yourself a piping hot cup of strong black coffee. Okay, maybe add a splash of oat milk, because we're about to delve into unfiltered conversations about the architecture industry with architects from all around the world. We're going to talk about increasing your salaries. We're going to talk about reducing your hours, and we're going to talk about creating health and happiness within the industry. So if you're an architect that's searching for more balance, a higher salary, a healthier relationship with your career, or maybe you're just trying to find a love for architecture again, turn up your AirPods just a notch, because I've got the answers. I'm your host, Morgan Chihuaga, your future career coach and founder of The Healthy Architect. And I teach architects how to stress less and make more, a lot more. Grab your trace papers and let's dive in. Welcome to the Healthy Architect podcast. I have one of my clients here. Her name is Shawna, maybe. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, maybe, maybe not. That's right.
Maybe, maybe not. Shawna, correct me if I'm wrong, is an architect who's been in the industry for around 18 or 19 years.
That's correct. Yep.
She is a mother, she is a powerhouse, and she is bold AF. So Shawna and I originally met at a conference potentially a year ago, and we've kept in touch. And she contacted me last Friday. And of course she did. I was not surprised at all that she had multiple six-figure offers on the table. She had two formal offers that she was actually considering. And within an hour, she said, Morgan, can you hop on the phone? Within an hour, we co created a plan to strategically negotiate $10,000 above the original offer, negotiate a $5,000 sign on bonus, negotiate a stipend that would cover two AIA conferences every single year annually, paid in full. That means travel, that means hotel, that means stay, et cetera, et cetera. And on top of that, negotiated quarterly check-ins to get you to the next highest role in the company. So during these quarterly check-ins, you are going to create milestones and ensure you are on track to get to the next level in the company. Did I miss anything whatsoever?
No, I think you covered it. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
I am excited for you to be here, and I'm excited to share your story with the other architects and women in architecture that are considering negotiating and that just maybe don't know the leverage that they actually have in their back pocket when they are negotiating multiple offers. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. When you first came to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a bit hesitant between the two offers. You had not solidified, at least verbally, I think you had in your mind, but verbally, you had not solidified which offer you were going to go with. Number one offer, it was a higher salary, but you just weren't sure if it was going to result in burnout and longer hours. It was what I like to call the shiny object. And then the second offer was a little bit of a pivot, a lower salary than the first offer, but ultimately more aligned with where you wanted to be in your career long term. Tell me a little bit about that fight inside your head.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. So the first offer, it was really hard not to be blinded by the money they were offering because it was, like you said, it was the bigger offer. It was potentially doing more of what I was already doing. So being a senior project manager and jumping back into a complex project, which sounded really exciting and clearly aligned with where I'd been and the experience I had. But I was concerned about burnout and whether there would be work life balance for what that meant for me, and also concerns with needing to travel a little bit more and that sort of thing. But could tell that they were also opening an office in this area. And so there was some really exciting opportunity to it as well. And then the other offer, as you mentioned, was lower, but it was also an investment because it is a career pivot. And so I could tell that because they were offering me more than they typically would within kind of the track that they identified, that that was clearly an investment, and there would be some things because it is a pivot. There are some things I need to learn on that side of the profession. And I could also see this move for me. I should back up and say this move for me is not just meant to be like the next job, right? It's meant to be a career move where I I was looking for and am looking for a place where I can jump in and spend the next 10 to 15 years until retirement and really dig in and be part of the organization and have ownership in it to some degree. And so that's what I was looking for. And with the second offer, I could just see that a bit more clearly. I don't know exactly what path I'll take because there's a lot of different options, but because I could see that there's a lot of different options and a lot of different opportunities, I could start to like put myself in that mindset and to work my way through this vision, right? And know that there's like some opportunities that aren't even created yet that I could be part of creating in the future. And that I think really lit me up. And also having worked with these folks for the last 8 years on the other side of the table was also they've seen me at my worst, right? I've seen them at their worst. We've seen each other go through some hard times and had to have hard conversations. And so I felt like they really knew what they were getting and knew me pretty well and knew my expectations and still wanted to be hand in hand in doing this with me and vice versa. Like I knew what I was getting from them. And so it was really just a great opportunity. And I think you could tell from when I was talking to you that that's the one I was kind of lighting up about. And I think you helped me identify that that's the one that it was clearly like, even though it was less money and it wasn't the shiny object, right? It was the one that was shiny to me, right? And the one that I could just see much more career potential with.
It's so funny when individuals come to me and they're like, they explain the offers that they have on the table, and it's so obvious from my point of view which direction they need to go. They just need somebody to like, and you move fast, Shauna. You make quick decisions, and you're pretty bold in your decisions, from what I know about you. And you just needed to somebody to say, check your gut. Which way are we going? And you were like, okay, I know. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, we got it. Yeah.
And literally less than 5 minutes, I would say.
Yeah, and then you were like, "Okay, so this is gonna be quick, but let's start negotiating. What are we gonna negotiate here? What do you want?" Right? And so that was where we dug in and rolled up our sleeves and then it didn't become about like, "Oh, talking to this firm about, this and this firm about this," but, honing in on the one that I actually wanted and figuring out what would be the best outcome.
Yeah. So let's talk about okay, so we decided which offer you were going to. You're going to the second offer. You decided that that one was the move forward. We kind of talked about how sometimes you have to slow down to speed up in your career, and that's what the second choice would be. It might be a little bit slow down for 3 to 6 months and then speed up from there. After you decided to go with the second offer, you were a little hesitant. You said something like, "I'm hesitant to ask for too much because I'm afraid it will look like I'm greedy."
Yeah.
And this is so common that I hear. Like this phrase comes up to me every single time during the negotiation. Can you tell me a little bit about what you thought about the greediness and then tell me how coaching helped you navigate that emotion?
Yeah, that's good. So I think I'm someone who leans into my career, as you said, I bold and make decisions pretty easily once I feel like I have all the facts and things. And so with the other, if we'd gone in the other direction, I would not have hesitated to be like, okay, let's dig in, let's see how much I can get here. I would not have hesitated because it was along the track I'd already been on in my career. I was like, I had already developed those skills. I knew exactly what I was getting into and where I could go with it. With this one, because it is a career pivot, I'm recognizing there are things I am going to have to learn, and again, recognize that they're bringing me in at not their typical tier, given that I haven't been, entrenched in what they do, and so there is an investment, and so I was afraid because I was so excited about it, I was afraid to scare them away, right? But I also recognize that negotiation is a core skill for being a leader, and that's where I see myself, is I'm a leader. And so it's essential to just make sure you do it, but do it in a very, like, respectful way and to make sure you're just delivering it and showing them your value, right? Like, by negotiating, you're showing them those skills that you're gonna be able to exercise on their behalf, whether it's negotiating with a client or with your subs or consultants or whoever, right? It's something that's core. So just taking the offer and being like, "Great, thanks. Sounds good. Like, when do I start?" It's better to actually put yourself out there, but do it in a very respectful way. So I appreciate that you kinda pushed me to go further and, a little uncomfortable just because I knew they were already making an investment, but also, like, I recognized that the person I had been speaking with, he was crafting a story, right? And he was also negotiating, and so he started crafting the story with me over the course of several weeks to kind of get me in the mindset of like, "Oh, I might not be making as much as I was at my firm," like, I could tell that, like, in some ways, he was setting that up, and so it really did mean that I needed to recognize that and know that, he was negotiating with me. Now it was my turn to negotiate and push back and like stand firm on my value, even though there were things I needed to learn and to come in humbly realizing that there are still a lot of value that I bring to this table. And so to make sure that I'm championing for myself for that value. And so you help me see that.
And tell me what his response was when he approved or when he accepted the negotiation.
So he called me. He first of all, great communicator, like acknowledged that he got it and was like, "Hey, I'm in meetings until the rest of the day, so I want you to know that I have seen it and I am going to call you later as soon as I get out of these meetings." So great that, not just leaving me on red, right? And like trying to figure out, "Oh my gosh, did I scare him away?" So good that he did that. You don't always get that benefit of the doubt. So you got to like get in your mind and be like, "Okay, deep breath. They could be busy. They might not have seen it yet." So, but he was a good communicator. And when he got back to me, he called me and he was like, "Shawna, I really appreciate that you know your value and that you continue to like push for your value. I respect that. So, yep, let's do it. Your salary, what you've proposed, great, let's do it." And so it was like an easy yes. And then I walked through some of the other things because he didn't very clearly say like, "Oh yeah, 2 AIA conferences and the every 6 months." And so I just wanted to verbally like walk through it with him. And so I said, "Hey, what about the AIA conferences? As I've told you, I'm an AIA junkie and that is part of my identity and I value it. I see it as business development." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's an easy yes. You want to go to a conference, you just let us know and we'll send you. That's such an easy thing for us." And I was like, "Cool, easy. That's easy for me too." And then I'm like, and it must be, a easy yes then for you as well to just make sure that we're meeting regularly. I know every, quarter might be a little bit too much depending on what's going on, but just making sure that we're meeting at a regular cadence to make sure that we're on track to get to that next level. And he's like, "Yep." And I know that that's, something that you're really gonna push for. You're very persistent, and so we'll make sure that we're doing that along the way. So, yeah, it was just, you know, I could tell that they value what I'm bringing to this, and, it means a lot. And obviously, I value where I'm going, so it's an easy win.
And so some architects and humans in general, I should just say humans in general, they would go into negotiation thinking, well, I don't want to ask them to send me to an AIA conference. Like, that's a big ask. Like,
Yeah.
that's what benefits me. Or I don't want to ask them to meet quarterly to make sure I get to the next level because it's about me. So,
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit about how we shifted the mindset, shifted really the positioning of those requests and those asks so it wasn't only about you going to the AIA conference, but it was actually about you helping the firm as well while still getting what Shauna wanted.
Exactly. It does feel very selfish at first, right? Especially since when you and I are starting off with like, you're just like, world's wide open, Shauna. What do you want? What do you really want? Right? Like, irregardless of like reality almost. It's like,
Yeah.
what are the things that you want? Right? Be selfish. And so I love that you just kept, as soon as I said, I would love to go to AIA conferences. And then you're like, yeah, business development. And it's like, oh, yeah, business development. Like, yeah, clearly, like, I'm bringing them to a market that they don't always get to, they interact with us a lot, but this is not a market that's like a natural spot for them that they show up at. But if I'm showing up at it as an architect, and someone who's been in the industry for 19 years, then like there's a lot of credibility and a great network that I've already built. And now I'm like spreading this message of like, hey, come work with me over here now, right? I'm over here now and come work with me. We're great people. I love what I'm doing. Let me share more about this. And so getting their name out, they see that as like an easy win. And so like gearing it that way, and not just like selfishly, Shauna wants to still be in the architecture community and do all the cool architecture things she does, but it's actually like a huge benefit for the firm that I'm going to be going and working at now too. That was such a great switch because that means I get to do what I love and be part of the kind of family community that I love and still be representing this new firm that I'm going to.
Yeah, it's really a win for everybody. Like, it's a win on
Exactly.
all sides, literally, if you position it correctly. Now, if you
Right.
came to the table and you're like, "I wanna go to AIA conferences," and didn't position it in a way as for business
Right.
development, then it might have
Exactly.
been received differently. So it's all about the
Exactly.
messaging, the communication, the words that you actually use during the negotiation. Architects, quick intermission here. Hear me so loudly when I say this because I have dedicated my career to this. I personally have negotiated my entire life through every business decision I have negotiated. And I'm an expert at negotiating. And I've helped other architects, licensed and unlicensed, negotiate everything that you can imagine, 32-hour work weeks when there weren't any in place, maternity leaves before they were even pregnant when there weren't any in place, 28% salary increases when they've never negotiated before. Hear me loudly when I say this. You will never receive your value until you learn how to strategically negotiate for it. The problem is not the architecture industry. The problem is that you're not stepping up to strategically negotiate your needs. So, when you are ready, which you are, to negotiate, I'm going to put two links in the comments below. One is my hour-long negotiation session, 1 hour. Two, I'm going to put my 12 session negotiations in the link below. Okay. Wherever you are, if you are getting ready to negotiate tomorrow, purchase the 1 hour session. If you are going to negotiate in a month, select the 12 session negotiation. Okay. Here's my rule of thumb. I've never, ever, ever, ever helped an architect negotiate in November or December at their end of year review. We negotiate in January and February and March. We negotiate when no one else is negotiating. We negotiate anything and everything that helps you love your job, your position, even more than you do today. Nothing is off the table, especially in this economy in architecture. So here's to you and cheers to negotiating your value and your desires in your career. Okay, back to the podcast. And then let's delve into a little bit about the quarterly check-ins, about the next highest role in the company. How did you position that, or how did we coach through positioning that so it's a benefit on both sides as well?
And making it more intentional, right? Like, we knew that they were already bringing me in kind of at a level above what they normally would because they saw that potential, right? And knew that some of the things I need to learn are more hard skills that you can teach people, but what I'm
Mhm.
bringing to the table are soft skills that you can only hope achieve or kind of garner over time. And so that they brought me in again, that investment, and I will keep coming back to that word investment. And I think that was a powerful part of my communication with them and just saying, thank you for investing in me, and now here's how I'm going to invest in you as well. So it's a very mutual thing. And so it's the same with making sure that we stay on track for that next level. They know that I've got my eye on the senior project manager, because part of my hesitation with joining, and I was very upfront with them about that, is I didn't want to feel like I was taking a step back. At my previous firm, I was an associate principal, senior project manager. I've been in the industry for 19 years. And so I didn't want to feel like I was taking too far of a step back, but also, again, humbly being aware that I still have things to learn, right? We always have things to learn, but in this particular instance, I really do have some hard skills that I have to dig into and really spend the time on. And so I think being very intentional about it and setting up this kind of quarterly, every six
Mhm.
months at a minimum kind of checkpoint lets them know that I'm serious about getting to that next level and making that investment in time and making sure we stay on track. So it doesn't become just a wish-washy, like, well, okay, we'll get there, but be just a much more intentional, we're going to set this up and make sure we hit those milestones.
Yeah, I think a lot of architects don't know that they can literally negotiate anything, A, and then B, they see it as about themselves, like very egotistical, like it's about me, like I want to get to the next level, when in reality it can be a shared experience, good for the firm and good for the individual.
100%. Yep.
Let's go ahead and just throw it out there what the career, pivot was, which I mean, I see it as a transition, but let's go ahead and throw it out there. Do you want to describe what that kind of is?
Yep. So I've traditionally practiced in architecture firms and been a senior project manager on the design side. And so my pivot now is to go and work for a contractor. And so I will be a project manager out in the construction trailer, sitting across from an architect, maybe sitting across from you someday, who knows, listeners out there. So very excited to be sitting on the other side. I think just in the way that I kind of communicate and maybe some of upbringing, but some of like my linear thinking. I'm a very kind of linear thinker, and I think general contractors tend to be as well. I think it aligns with kind of how I best kind of communicate and kind of represent in the world. Not to say that I'm abandoning everything I've done in the design world. I think the benefit now is that I have been on the design side of the table. So I understand design is an iterative process. I understand the value in it. I understand, just a lot of things from that side of the table that I bring over here. And I continue to still represent that design side of the table too, because I'm still going to continue to be an architect, but now I think after I kind of learn some more on the GC side, like I can, speak both sides and really help bridge that gap a bit more so that we're not us versus them. Right. I keep
Mhm.
saying this side of the table, the other side of the table. It's a round table. Okay. It's a round table. We're all in this together. We're a
Yeah.
team. And that's the mindset I'm really excited to take to this because that's the GC that I'm joining as well. One that's always been, just they've never been a at odds kind of GC. They've been at the table with us, like working collaboratively through, design and decisions. And that's what I am excited to continue to do.
Yeah, and I think I told you during our hour-long session that we were negotiating all of this, that I went to the contractor side as
That's
well and
right.
the construction side, and that I know for a fact that you were going to bloom and flourish and bring these unique perspectives and just love it even more than you thought you were going to.
Yeah.
Um so tell me, was there during our 1-hour session together, Shauna, I think it was a little bit less than that. Was there any aha moments or any unexpected, I don't know, conversations that happened that you're like, "Oh gosh, I didn't think about it that way," or "I didn't think coaching would be like this?"
I think just because you kept every time I tell you, like, something that I wanted, right, you'd help pivot it a little bit so that it was, like, a benefit for everybody. It's not just a like, I can have my cake and eat it too kinda thing. Like, I can go to AIA and do the AIA stuff and represent it and be part of that community, but I think it's great that it's also a huge benefit to this GC that I'm going to because I get their name out as well. So everything had this, like, okay, yes, and here's how it's a benefit for them too, right? Here's how you can like have this conversation. But I think the thing that was most striking to me is when we did talk about you also being on that side of the table and being on the GC side. You mentioned when I start this job, to be thinking about and I hope I'm not giving away some of your special sauce,
No,
but
go
like
give it all
thinking of
away. Give it all away.
thinking yeah, so thinking of, like, when you start at this new place, who are you? Who do you wanna be? This is an opportunity to almost hit a reset button, right? It's like, not that I would do this, but, like, I've always been Shawna, but do I wanna be Shawn here? Like, would that make me more approachable to the men I'm about to work with, right? Like, I don't think I'm actually gonna do that, but it was a great opportunity, like, that made me pause and be like, "Oh, I can, like, reinvent myself a little bit," right? Maybe
Uh-huh.
not quite as much because I have worked with these folks for 8 years, so they do know me pretty well, but it is tremendous to think about that right out in the field with these subs that I'm about to come in contact with, is there a different me that they can experience that might be more relatable for them than maybe one that I would have been or have been in an architecture office where I have to be more mindful of certain things because, it's just a very different culture.
Yeah.
So that was a big aha moment for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and this goes for anybody, like, if you're an architect going to an architecture firm, like, the boundaries that you had in the past, this is your time to create new boundaries. The way you
Mhm.
communicated in the past, like, even I've seen women say they were shy in an architecture firm before and shed that shyness and be so bold in and make the decision and the choice to be so bold in their next firm and in their next opportunity. It's a blank slate just like you said, and it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself and come in with a new identity. And you working with subcontractors now, you're going to have to. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to decide and make decisions on how you come to the table and how you communicate with these subs. And really, it's like a science experiment. Like, okay, I communicated with them this way and it wasn't well received. Okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's communicate with them a different way, see if it's well received, analyze why it was well received, and then repeat that over and over again. But this is with any architecture firm or any new job or any new position, you are allowed and you should take time to decide who you want to be and what identity you want to bring into the next position and also reflect back on what didn't really work on your last position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Even with clients, right? Like we have to do that with clients. Like each client wants to be communicated with in a different way, right? And it's learning what that is and
Mhm.
trying to find that formula. So yeah, I love that. That was the part that was it was really a moment for me to like pause and be like, "Oh, you're right. I'm going to become at this a little differently."
Yeah, yeah, re-strategize, like reorient, repivot a little bit.
Mhm.
What would you tell another architect about the value of negotiation coaching?
Oh, wow. Yeah, totally invaluable. I think especially women, but certainly men too. We don't tend to lean into our careers all the way. And so this is an opportunity to just, even if you just need the sounding board, like Morgan said, I came to this probably knowing like what I should do, but needed that sounding board, needed someone to help kind of shape the message back to this firm that I was negotiating with to like make sure that it was a win-win for both of us. And you and I even sat down and like kind of drafted out the email together because we had time to like walk through, okay, here's the pieces I'd mention, here's what I wouldn't mention, here's how I'd phrase that. It could be a bullet, it could be paragraphs, whatever. So going through all of that and just having that sounding board to stop and look selfishly, to also have that permission to think selfishly for a minute. What do you want? Is that all you want? Are there anything else? And then you had these like other ideas like, did you want this? Do you want this? Do we need to talk about PTO? Do we need to talk about flexibility? Right? Do we need to talk about these other things? And so it was just giving you permission to be selfish in a way was like what I needed. And then having somebody watch, what you light up over and, what you get excited about and like pointing out, do you know that you do this when you talk about this firm, right? Versus this other firm. And like that was really invaluable to just like kind of validate in some ways the decision that was probably already forming in my head, but I needed someone else to help me like bring it out.
You know what's funny is I typically like my negotiation coaching packages are 16 sessions. We collapsed that into 1 hour because you and I both move so fast that we were like, "Okay, move on. We made a decision, move on. Okay, now we're writing the email. We know what we want. Let's move." And that was really interesting to see from my perspective of like in less than an hour we got this out the door.
Yeah, and I appreciated that you were available so that we could do this, just get it done. So, and just like kind of at the last minute, like, oh, I hate that I'm like contacting her. I'm like, hey, I have these things in my lap right now, and I need your help because there's like time limits on these
Mhm.
offers when you get them. So it's
Yep.
really invaluable that you were able to just clear your plate, make it work, and like dig in with me on this. Yeah.
Well, I was really excited. I love negotiation. Like, I really love negotiation. So it was something that I was extremely excited to help you through. Anything else? What else do you want my audience to know? What else do you want architects to know? What else do you want anybody to know about negotiation?
Yeah, again, I would just make sure when you have, multiple offers, if you've gotten to that point to not get blinded by the shiny object or by the money that's coming in, right? But to make sure you're really, really understanding that you're navigating a career decision here and you're thinking about a path that aligns with like your values and your life and being able to see the path in these different firms. And maybe you'll have a couple offers where you can see multiple paths, and that can certainly happen and probably makes it a little bit more challenging. But I think just really digging in and knowing what you value so you can navigate, it without just the shininess, right? Yes, money matters. And even $5,000, $2,000, like that compounds over time and makes a difference. But at the same time, money can't buy happiness. I know it's like cliche, but it comes a point where also like you're gonna maybe take a lower base salary for a higher value job in the long run, right? And so I think there's an investment there that can happen. And so just being open to the whole process too. I think Morgan, when you dig in first and you give that permission to be selfish, it can be a little uncomfortable to be like, oh, do I tell her that I want this like really weird random thing like a cell phone, right? And you'll say, that's small, or yeah, let's get it in there, right? Like if it's really a wholesale like thing that matters, right? That moves the needle. There are some things that don't move the needle and other things that do, and we have to get them in there. But it's just being open to like the whole process and just putting it all out there so that you can make the best decision for yourself. Even if it seems like a minute thing, it might be the important needle mover for you. So
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, Shauna, that I am so incredibly stunned by you and your boldness, and not only to move industries, but of course, you had multiple offers on the table. Like when you told me you did, I was like, yeah, not shocked,
thank
because she's an
you.
amazing individual Wherever you go work, you're an amazing individual. And I love your boldness. I admire who you are as a person. And I'm so excited for this next position and this next career pivot for you.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I really appreciate your support through this and, wouldn't be here without you. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawna. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Architects, this podcast is the culmination of the most creative minds in the world. The planning and programming of this content is extensive, and I'm proud to be a small part of the change that's happening in our profession. If you want to be a part of this change, the very best thank you can give the Healthy Architect is giving us a 5-star review and sharing this episode with a colleague. When you give us a 5-star review and you share this podcast, you are playing a role in changing our industry, one architect at a time. Be happy, be healthy, and take action towards a more fulfilling career. See you next week on the Healthy Architect Podcast.